Hello.
Hi. Now we want to talk about private equity because we believe it's very important for startups. It's my pleasure to talk with Felix Grohlmann. He has been at the Ecosummit in the past as a founder. And a few years ago, you joined the world of private equity and you joined a company that was recently sold.
Yes.
Tell us about that company and how you entered into the world of private equity yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's not that exciting. It's not a totally different world. I mean, in the end, everybody cooks with water. But it was quite an amazing journey. So I was privileged to take over as CEO of VSB Group a little over 2 years ago. And VSB Group, just to make it very brief, is a company that goes into greenfield project development in wind, onshore wind, solar, and large-scale battery projects. So we kind of go and make a project out of any sort of green field all over Europe. We're active in 6 countries with 21 offices, and then we develop it into very large wind projects. So our largest one in Finland at the moment is 450 megawatts, which is wind and solar and batteries combined. And this company then doesn't only develop the assets, but a lot of the assets we kept ourselves in our IPP, an independent power producer, that then sold the green electricity. So in a way, it was not so different than the pre-stage of what we've been discussing here since 2012, when it was still Grundgrünenergie, where you have a fully integrated package of power that is then made available to the consumer through an IPP, not to an end consumer at the moment, but through large PPAs or CFDs. So, but that was kind of what we did there. And then this company was acquired and invested into by Partners Group, the Swiss private equity fund, in 2021. And then we were fortunate enough to grow it into an even larger business. And then we just closed the deal with TotalEnergies, who acquired us about 6 weeks ago in April. Yeah.
What was the sales price of VSB?
I think it's public. It was the enterprise value was 2.1 billion, and the sales price was 1.566 billion. So it was a rather large transaction. And
can you tell us about the return that Partners Group made with this transaction?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's all public. Partners Group is a listed company. We did 3.78 on the capital invested in under 4 years.
3.78
multiple.
3.7x.
3.78x in 4 years.
Yeah. But how much is a 3.78x of a billion? 1.1 billion. They made a substantial return of many hundred of millions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the business they do, and that's maybe where it's a bit different to the sort of startup world and venture capital world. So what private equity traditionally does, they go in when it's reasonably secure that you get your money back. So you have a very limited downside case.
They don't like risk.
They like risk, but they like sort of risk of it getting a lot better or just a little better. So what they don't like is to have a write-off, especially not when there's infrastructure.
Writing off a couple of 100 million is not a nice feeling.
Never fun, and it's really expensive, so nobody does that. And so this is why when we started preparing for this chat, why I think it is quite cool and important that private equity moves into our space that you've been very successfully doing here at Ecosummit for so many years, because it shows that a lot of the things we do here are now secure. There's proven business models behind it. We don't have to explain to everyone what we're doing. I mean, still to a lot of people, but I kind of like to say, like, all the ideas that we need for a successful energy transition, we have. And obviously there's still better ideas, and we see all these amazing young companies who do that, but we have the ideas. Then we need the capital. The capital, it's there. There's the latest sort of GIP fund was $38 billion for one infrastructure fund. JP Morgan has got 182 that they're investing in an evergreen vehicle into infrastructure. So there's so much there. So we have the capital. So what we need is the execution. The execution of these things, and fast. And this is where private equity can help.
Execution exactly?
By the execution, I mean pretty much exactly what VSB Group did. When sort of 5 years ago, VSB Group would develop 20 to 50 megawatts of renewable energy projects a year to bring them to the ready-to-build stage so that somebody can put the turbine. We brought that number up to 1 gigawatt in 4 years. So we industrialized the process. We made sure the execution is right. We make sure we have digital databases for everything. We made sure we use the same methodology. We made sure that everybody's getting trained the same. So it's almost like, going to the mass production of the car from building each car individually.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of our industry needs right now, and this is where private equity can really help, because this is what they do. You don't have the downside, but you have the upside by executing.
Private equity people good at execution, or is it the smart CEOs that they bring into their portfolio companies?
I think it's mostly the great teams that we get to work with. So I was very fortunate to already find some amazing people. We are roughly 600 people in Europe, so we're not so big, but they were all really knowledgeable, really good. I was very fortunate to find some great new hires, and this is what made it go up. But on the board level, if you have the right private equity investor, they really know what they're talking about. So they go deep into the subject matter. And Partners Group, for example, really does that. So David Daum, who was the partner who spearheaded it, he had 12 years experience himself in infrastructure.
Why is private equity important for startups? Because private equity can be the acquirer of a startup, right? But they don't like to acquire small startups. Some of them have a minimum ticket size. Yeah. They are not all the same, but for example, Partners Group, what is their minimum ticket size?
The ideal thing would be to buy nothing under 500 million.
500 million. Yeah. Any startup in the room that is ready to sell at 500 million?
Okay, we've got one, we've got two.
So he's a good entry point into a potential buyer if you are big enough. Yeah. But there are also private equity firms that are acting the slower ticket sizes, right?
Exactly, and it's flexible in the end. Sort of, why is private equity interesting? Because I think we saw a couple of amazing trade sales, just the lovely people who were here on the stage before me, most of them good old friends. They did trade sales to large strategics. I did one now as well. But the great thing with private equity is it really takes you to the next stage, and that's what it does. And it does it in 4 to 5 years, because that's what it does. It's always going to be 4 to 5 years. There's no going around this, because you have to. So it gives you that security. If you really want to make your business 4 times as big in 4 years, a private equity investor is quite a good partner. And then in terms of size, you saw our friend Christoph Ostermann. He just got an investment on board by Partners Group, even though he just set up the company when?
2 years ago maximum.
Yeah, 2 years ago, less than that.
And he was bypassing venture capital completely to go from founder funded directly to private equity, and they raised 450 million, right?
Yeah, and they allocated even 1 billion in funding for the battery project. Yeah. So that is possible to do it fast as well. But he obviously has done it before.
Because apparently battery developer as a business model is a low-risk business model, right? Because the battery technology comes from China. These are big batteries, they're working, you can market it on flexibility markets. So it's a very well understood technology, no technology risk, and a really good, well understood business model.
Exactly.
And they can just throw a lot of equity at it.
Exactly. So that's just like you say, Jan. So it's when you go into a market where you know that you have a product that can sell, you're there. And we know that electricity sells, we know that battery works, we know we have an intermittent market, we have over 50% renewable intermittent production now in Germany, so you will need batteries. Yeah.
Because this is a very short fireside chat, I have a final question for you. Yeah. What kind of advice do you give startup founders in the room when and how to pitch to which private equity firms? Why does it make sense and how should they do it?
Yeah, I think there's 2 main things. I think or maybe 3. The number 1 thing is be well documented in what you do. So make sure that your processes, your internal decision processes, the way why you do what you do, you can show why and you can document that, because that is already building the case for your exit. So the better you document your decision processes, your investment decisions, a bit like an investment fund almost, the better you can then later on show that. And if a private equity sees that, they're going to be happy. And then the second thing is basically look into that you're not a very risky case. Nobody wants to have 20x, 20 times the money you return. That's not what private equity is looking for. They look for 2, 3, 4, 5x, but then at a maybe 60, 70, 80% probability. So look for a business case like this. It's probably a good idea anyways, regardless of, if you find a business that kind of grows nicely and steadily, that's a good idea. So I think that's it.
So if you are at 50 million in revenues, you should have a plan how you can reach 250 multiplied by 5. Would that already be an interesting opportunity for some of the private equity players?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's something that a partners group they would look at definitely. But maybe just short, maybe it's not ripe yet. But then one of the important things is to stay in touch. That's why I love coming to your beautiful events here, because people that are now at 5 million might be at 50 or 100 million in a few years, and then it's important to be part of that journey, and that's really nice as well. It's fun, right?
That's why we are shouting out to the world, to the private equity world, watch us. Check out these cool young startups coming to the Ecosummit and watch how they grow. And when the time is right, buy your ticket to Ecosummit and you can meet them. Right?
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
Really good
Thank
to
you
see
very much.
Yeah. Thank you.